Yes, in disbelief.
It was historic.
Indeed, heroic.
Something clearly you won't stop talking about.
Hello, I'm Stratton Palmer.
And I am Curtis Myrie.
Welcome to the real chat.
And what a thing we have to chat.
Because the stunning three-wicket opening test win by the West Indies against Bangladesh on Sunday, February 17, Chittagong, Bangladesh.
Scoreboard: Bangladesh 430 and 223 for 8 declared. West Indies 259 and 395 for 7. The highest successful run chase in Asia, the 5th highest overall, and the 2nd highest by West Indies team, with the highest successful run chase in history. That by the West Indies, scoring 418 for 7 against Australia in Antigua in 2003.
And a team regarded as substitutes with 10 of the regular players, including Captain Jason Holder, pulling out of the tour reportedly over COVID-19 concerns.
A team motivated by the legendary West Indies captain Sir Clive Lloyd, who wrote to the players urging them to seize the moment, reminding them of how he started, and insisting there were no second stringers.
They answered the call. A miraculous feat, with debutant Barbadian Kyle Myers unbeaten on 210 from 310 balls in a stay of 6 hours and 55 minutes at the crease, stroking 24s and 7 sixes.
The highest score by a debutant in a 4th innings, and the 2nd double century scored in Test by West Indies debutant behind the Jamaican Lawrence Rowe.
The left-hander shared a critical 4th wicket partnership with Jamaican debutant Nkrumah Bonner with a valiant 86, a maiden Test half-century.
The Barbadian Craig Brathwaite led the team was inspired. And here again is Sir Clive Lloyd, to be joined at the crease by other legends. The story of what made him right. The story from these legends of his skill sets as father figure, older brother, and motivator. Welcome, Sir Clive Lloyd, once again to Real Chat.
Cheers, thanks. It's a pleasure to be there.
Hope, my dear Sir Clive Lloyd, rings eternal, no?
Yes, that's what they say. The point is that there were so many negative things being said, and how we're going to be beaten. Nobody, gave them a chance, and I just thought that it reminded me of a lot of things. That my first, as I mentioned, my first Test match, and my first outing as captain in India. I hadn't captained anybody before, other than my school team, my high school team, and the point is that we had 98% of those guys had never played a Test match, and they came. You had to lead by example. I think I totaled 600 runs in the series. Gordon Greenwich got 100 or he got a 90 and something else in that first set. But Richard got 192 in the second Test. And we had 2 spinners, Lance Gibbs and your Jamaican mate, Mr. Barrett.
Arthur Barrett.
Arthur Barrett, yes.
Arthur Barrett, So we didn't always have fast bowlers, and some of them were quick. Andy Roberts was about the quickest we had. We had Van Holder, Bernard Julian, and the 2 spinners. And they had me there bowling my right arm optimistic.
Optimistic. Tell me though, a lot of people are wondering, Sir Clive, what prompted you at this time to write this letter? Was it because you came in at a similar circumstance with 45 minutes before a Test match that you were told to prepare to play?
Yeah. Well, the point is that what happened is I wrote a letter before when they were in England, before they played the first Test match and it was I wrote it in the Daily Mail, right? I'm not so sure if the players saw it, but they won their first test, and I think it's just that with a little bit more thinking, they would have won. They could have kept the trophy, because the next two test matches we lost a day in each of those test matches. And what we failed to realize too, this is how many test matches in the last 7 years or so, or 5 years, have gone into the fifth day. These guys took it into the fifth day, and they won it. I thought that showed character, and that's what I said in my letter.
Should
we have to show character.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Should you patent these letters, Sir Clive, because it seems to work in England, and here again, there's something to it, isn't there?
But go ahead, sir.
If you all these guys that I led were young, never played a test match, didn't know anything about winning, didn't know how to win, didn't know how to build an inning. They learned that during that period. When you look at the Frank Worrell team in the 60s, towards about the majority of them had played test matches. They've been on 2 or 3 tours. So you had 1 or 2 experienced guys. We didn't have that. We didn't have any bowling coach or batting coach or fielding coach. I did everything as a captain. And I thought that was my job. But now that I'm looking at the 15 and 16 extra people that they're taking, I think the West Indies now owe me money.
But let me ask you this. After the first set of matches that we lost, were you a little crestfallen? Or you still hung on tenaciously to hope?
Well, I wanted to give them that hope, because I know the pitches are nearly like those that we have in the West Indies. It's not like England, where it will seem about when the ball is about 60 or 70 overs old, it will turn, but it will still be good for batting if you apply yourself. And I just wanted to give them that little lift that we still feel that you can do well. And when they said that the letter gave, because when it was sent to the president, he said, I'm going to ask the manager to read the letter to these guys so that they can understand that there's still people backing them. And I thought that was excellent. And it gave them that impetus to do well, because I don't think people realize how great this thing is. This is the highest score in the history of hockey in a 4th innings in Asia. And Asia is not an easy place to make runs on a 4th innings. So it has character. It has everything that Test cricket provides. It tests every aspect of your game.
You pressed the whole factor of self-belief.
Yeah.
For quite some time, as members of the pavilion, seeing us tumble over and over again left us wondering if our West Indian players were ever believing in themselves. You pressed on that score, the whole issue of self-belief. Did you share that belief, like so many of us here in the stands?
Yeah. I still think that, I always thought that we have to turn that corner, but that corner seems to be a long corner. But the point is that if you look at it, we have 5 million people in the West Indies, or different walks of life. So that means that the people that we are choosing from are very small. It's not like England has got 354 cricketers playing every year. Australia have got a very good system. South Africa, New Zealand, India, Pakistan, they have a lot more people than we have. So when we lose 10 players, that is a great a great hole that is left in our cricket.
But
Because it takes you-
you really dealt with that because you tell them not to think of themselves as second class
This is
cricketers
it.
Yeah.
and to show the world that you're not.
Well, that is what my letter was. That is the impact I wanted to make. That to go out there and you're not second class. You're being chosen on merit.
You
And
were
look,
you were
shown up-
identifying the fact that only your mind can free yourself. You were saying to
Yeah.
them that you were as good as your level of confidence, no?
Yes, yes,
Good.
yes. And any sport is played from the neck up. Good. And these guys applied themselves, and I'm hoping that tonight that they get to 350, 400, and try and win this test match, because we don't want them to fail, because people are going to say, oh, the last time they lost 6. And not only that, we have you must remember that we lost 6 wickets for 5 runs in the fourth inning.
Yeah. Let me ask you this though, Sir Clyde, and I posit it this way, in that many people may want to remark that, it is just another letter. Do you think that anyone else could write this letter, but that the position that you're from is that your success level, your stature as a captain, the fact that you had gone through this, and the fact that you created a world-winning team for so many years, could anybody write such a letter?
I feel that we have people there that should be working with our young cricketers. That is the other thing that I think that we have some of the greatest batsmen ever. We have Brian Lara, we have Viv Richards, we have from Trinidad,
Well, there's a Haynes.
Larry Gomes.
There's a Haynes.
We have Larry Gomes, you have Desmond Haynes, you have Gordon Greenidge. You have some of the best cricketers ever, and they're not doing any work with our youngsters. It is a tragedy. But Australia's got Fontaine, they've got Langer, they've got Waugh now working with the test team. Why? It gives them that extra that is needed. You look at the IPL, some of those teams have got 3 captains from different countries. So the discussion about play, they will be learning a lot. That is why you see the Indians are producing so many cricketers and good ones, because they're getting people to talk to them and giving them that impetus that is needed for the higher game. We need to do that.
So beyond the letter, what's a checklist to keep our young players motivated, to keep them believing in themselves? What are your recommendations?
My recommendation is to try and harness the talent that we have, make sure that our guys are not running all over the place, and then the captain doesn't know from toe to toe who he's got under his guidance. We need to get those guys signing a contract. So, gentlemen, you're going to make money anyway. Money is a subsidiary of success. The point is if we just keep running off to every little T20 and T10 playing, and all cricket is being played. We have a 50 over. Everybody should be back playing. You have to respect this cricket that is giving you that mobility that has taken you up into the world. You've been respected by we gave you that chance to show what you have, your wares into your cricketing ability abroad. Respect that.
But let me
We went to
be
Kerry Packer. But we came back and we were world champions when we left.
You came back because you felt and you yearned for that special sense of pride playing for the West Indies, because the region was your federation of countries. This whole belt was your home. Does that still exist, Sir Clive Lloyd? And isn't it really just pursuing the dollar which perhaps is more trotting from league to league than staying home to represent the West Indies? Just look at it
Well,
as bare as we can make it.
I don't want anybody to think I don't want them to make any money. Fine. I have no qualms about that. You could go and play in those games and so on, like the Australians do, or the Sri Lankans do, the Indians, you know, the New Zealanders, you know, and the Australians. But the point is, they go home when they have cricket being played there. They still respect their cricket. We have to get that back to our players, that you still will earn money. You can still be a rich guy. You know, it can be well off, and nothing is wrong with that. We're not saying that at all. But we want you to make sure that our captain, whoever he is, she, or you know, he or she is, they must go back and respect our cricket, because our sponsors would like the best players performing if they're putting money into our cricket. I want the best players.
You made a statement which grabbed me, that most people are judged by the obstacles that they face.
Then you overcome, yes. Yeah. You are judged by that, because if you don't know the other side of the coin, you never know the full thing. When you have a lean time batting or bowling, it's like what the guy said. When you knock down, when it's what you do when you get up. You've got to fight. You've got to show that you've got, you know, the Lord is trying to test your character. And I forgot to tell him the other night that when on Sunday I lit a candle for them. I said, no, man, I have to light a candle, an extra candle for these guys, because they've done extremely well. They've made us all proud. When people thought that they would not come to the fore.
Some folks are already contending that this is a swallow in a summer, and around the corner we might go right back to where we started. How do we prevent this?
No, not if we can harness the talent we have. We got some guys that stayed home. I thought that should have been there. The guy Brooks is a tremendous cricketer, and I thought that somebody should have taken him to one side. And you can talk about COVID. The 30-something people over there, they're putting their lives on the line too. The fella Bonner now, to me, is what all cricketers should be like. Your wicket is going to be had at a premium. You just don't give it away. I want him to make a double hundred tonight. I want it, because we have about 5 or 6 guys there that could be permanent. You know, we have guys there who are good enough, who made runs in Test cricket. And I'm hoping that this tour can give them that extra that is needed, because we're batting as we should bat. You lose wickets, you know, that's when you dig in.
I think the captain, Craig Brathwaite, said it best, that what you really told them was that to represent the West Indies means a lot, and that they are primary and premier citizens in the country for having represented the West Indies, and should therefore do it, give it their best shot.
Yeah. Well, yes. The point is, I got a booklet, right? And I said that our guys, nobody ever give them what you call it. I'm trying to find the word. An induction course. Nobody sits you down and say, well, listen, here's this ring, here is this blazer and this tie, and explain to them what playing for the West Indies means. And I did that. I got a booklet. I don't know how many of them have got it. And the booklet had in it, I did the forward for the booklet, right? And it outlined all the things that we've done as a region and a small country, really. I call it region, small region of 5 million people. 29 test matches without losing, 11 straight test matches. You know, we were world champions and 5 or 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you insist, we haven't lost the mold.
No. And if we are 17 years old at one stage, you would have never seen the West Indies lose a series. Now that to me is something that we have to cherish. And if we don't tell those young men, tell me something.
Hello?
What is the question? Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. When you go for an interview at a big forum, what is the most important question? Why do you want to join this forum?
Yes.
And if you can't explain, they'll tell you, sorry, you're here for a month. And that means that you will not get. You have to tell them why you want to join that forum. And when we were champions, everybody wanted to play. Everybody wanted to be part of our team because we were winners and we were making our people proud.
Many, many years ago, Sir Clive, we heard about Rudy Webster down in Australia when that was new to us. Now the world is into psychological employment to assist our players. And these letters that he wrote, first in England and now, has really been the tonic that this team needed. How can we make that permanent? Because I think we are traveling and we still do have that help in the team in terms of inbuilt psychology.
Because we don't have that academy. We need an academy. I said that during when Clyde Walker was alive. And I was told that why should we do the same thing that Australia is doing? But that was not it. We should have people there explaining to our players when they leave our academy. We don't have to get too much coaching because they have gone through the mill of every aspect. We have some of the best universities around. Mm-hmm. The West Indies University of the West Indies, well respected. We should have people from there, and the Barbados University, you have Trinidad, you have Guyana, you have Grenada. You know, we should have areas where people could be taught about leadership.
That's in fact, that is the model with campuses in all the islands.
Yeah, and we're now using them.
Mm-hmm. But Sir Clive, what about cricket the West Indies way? That was out there in vogue when we were winning. Did we capture that in terms of putting what it is and what we could work on going forward? Or have we now forgotten what it took to be there?
That is why I'm saying one of these days I will have my documentary and I will tell people what it is that we did. Mm-hmm. Because it looks so easy. We didn't have Joel Garner and Croft and all these guys for about 3 years. They came after Malcolm Marshall. So they joined a professional side. We were winning. And when we were going on tour, it's how much we'll beat the opposition by. It's not if we will win. Those are things that I want to instill in these young guys. That don't worry with what, we want you to create your own. But you have a baton that has been passed to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sir Clive, certainly you have played many wonderful strokes, but this one was a master stroke. And as you have proven to us and the world that praise and commendation are the ideal critique tools.
Cheers. Thank you.
And thanks again for joining us on Real Chat.
Pleasure.
Good.
Pleasure, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
It's the whole matter of self-belief, how you hold on dearly to your self-worth and esteem. as Clive Lloyd wrote? And has he encouraged in that letter to the young West Indies cricketers in Bangladesh? We'll be right back after this. Welcome once again to Real Chat. And this afternoon, we are going to chat, you know.
Yes, indeed.
Because one must speak at length about motivation. One must speak at length about how we're stirred, right? Because oftentimes it's the difference between winning and losing. It's the difference, even when we are defeated, how we pick ourselves up again, brush ourselves off, and get roaring and charging again because we believe that what is there to be claimed is rightfully ours. Good? Here's a man who had no problems with that. Michael Holding, one of the world's finest fast bowlers. Speed, stealth, with a haul of 249 test wickets. And I remember in a number of conversations, he pointed it out too as well in an article on his comments about Clive Lloyd, how in describing Clive Lloyd, he said, beyond skill sets as captain, what was critical about keeping that team together was his father figure. Was how, you know, the elder brother holding them together. Tell us that story. No? Give us a little more on that, Sir Michael.
Hi, Curtis Stratton. How are you? And all your listeners.
Yeah.
How things?
We are good.
Well.
We are good.
But I want to preface the question that Curtis asked by asking this one first before you go into telling us how it was. At the time that you were called, did you think that you were ready for Test cricket?
No, to be honest, I had an inkling that I might be going to Australia, but I wouldn't say that I was ready. I thought that when I went to Australia, I was going there pretty much to learn. I would have been on a learning curve and would have been in the background learning from the names ahead of me, you know, Andy Roberts, Manburn Holder, Bernard Julian, Keith Boyce, all those guys were ahead of me. And I figured that I would be learning, I would be playing some state games, I was playing some of the country games, and by the time the Test series came around, I would be, you know, watching and doing some water cart duties and things like that. And to be honest,
towel over the shoulder.
Yeah, and
like a civil servant. But were you treated as a little brother or as an equal?
Well, not equal. Equal in the sense that I could say, and we youngsters in the team, because David Myrie was in that team. What happened, if you remember, what happened with that team was we had just won the first World Cup in England. When I say we, I mean West Indies, because I wasn't a part of that team.
Right.
And the senior guys, we pretty much caught up with them in Australia, because David Myrie, Albert Padmore, Leonard Bachan, one other and myself, I can't remember who that was not a part of the World Cup squad. And we pretty much caught up with the guys in Australia, and we were considered part of it. Although we weren't a part of the World Cup squad, we weren't seen as outsiders or little boys. We were youngsters, yes, we were just coming into the big setup, but we were never looked down upon. As a matter of fact, I know as a fact that, a lot of the senior guys in the team took me under their wings, Keith Boyce in particular,
Yes.
And I never felt as an outcast. I never felt, oh, you're just here to make up numbers. That was never ever the feeling. And a lot of the senior guys used to call me because you know when you're on tour, a lot of times people group in a room and they order food, and they used to call me. Roy Frederick, Derek Murray, Clive Lloyd, Lance Gibb, those senior guys used to say, oh, Mikey, they call my room. Mikey, we have some Chinese food here. Why don't you come down? Mm-hmm. And this is before I got into the final 11. So it was not a matter of, oh, you're a kid, stay out of this. Never.
Mm-hmm. So it's back to that opening delivery. Where did you feel like his nephew, his son?
Well, I felt almost like as if Clive Lloyd was another father to me.
Right.
Because he pretty much treated me when I went into the team as his son or a family member. I got to the point where even my father recognized the relationship between Lloyd and myself. Because if you remember those days, there was nothing called mobile phones. And I was still living with my parents. And I remember once being at home in Dunrobin, my father answered the phone and shouted to me in some other part of the house, Mikey, your father on the line. And because he knew the relationship with Lloyd and myself. And I think he got to understand that relationship from early days, because my father was very good friends with J.K. Holt, who was a selector at the time. J.K. Holt was Kensington, my father was Melbourne, but, they were very good friends. And I remember after the World Cup squad was selected, J.K. Holt came back to Jamaica and said to my father, Mikey, his name was called in the selection meeting. Of course, my father was surprised. This little 19-year-old fellow just approaching 20, name called in the selection meeting. Mm-hmm. And J.K. Holt told him yes. But Clive Lloyd said, no, we're not going to start him off in one-day cricket.
Yes.
We're going to start him off on the Australia tour. So that's how I had an inkling that I might go to Australia. Not that I was expecting it, but I had an inkling. Because actually when I got selected, I was surprised. And I told the story on so many occasions. I'll never forget where I was. I was at Melbourne, upstairs, senior cup match going on, and a friend of mine, Stafford Shan, I know you guys would know, Shan. Mm-hmm. Stafford Shan came down to Melbourne and run upstairs and said, Mikey, you got selected to go to Australia. Because again, those days you didn't get any pre-notice. They didn't call you or write you a letter. It just appeared on the radio or in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Shan was the first person who told me that I was selected to go to Australia. But as I said, from those early days, Lloyd had his eyes on me. Mm-hmm. And my J.K. Holt got at the inkling because of the selection process, what he was involved in. And of course, being friends with my father, he wanted to tell his friend that my son nearly made the West Indies team,
But in reflection, Mikey, up to that time, age 19, Clive Lloyd is speaking about you in selection meeting. What had you done so far to really capture the attention? If you can remember.
Not a lot. I had shown some pace because I remember bowling to Lloyd himself at Sabina Park one day. I'll never forget the umpire either. Umpire Painter. Don't remember his first name, but umpire Painter from St. Vincent and one of those islands was the umpire. And I rapped Lloyd on the pads twice. And of course, youngster, you feel you get him out and you bellow out a loud appeal. So I know that Lloyd had recognized that I had some pace from an early age. Mm-hmm. But as I said, with those senior guys, and I think even Lloyd, they must have thought that as well, with those senior guys in the team, when you talk about Andy Roberts, Van Bernholer, Keith Boyce, Bernard, Julian, this little fellow going to Australia now with them is there to learn. I'm absolutely sure Lloyd would have thought that as well. But because I went to Australia and I kind of developed a little bit, they decided to pick me.
I'm compelled to ask this question. Here we are talking about the benefits of bonding, right? This is what made you comfortable. This is what made you feel that you were part of the team. Because I'm listening to you attentively. Mm-hmm. The older fellows kept coming for you, kept making you feel that you're a part of this. And almost every day, sometimes, we speak of insularities in the region that has helped to splinter this unit that is the West Indies cricket team. Where did it come from? Where were we blindsided by this? Because if I am seeing Clive Lloyd as captain and great father figure, I'm seeing the identity of the Caribbean man.
Yes, that he was.
What happened,
sure.
Mikey? What happened?
But I want you to understand, though, Curtis, that Clive Lloyd's tenure was not something that was happening on a regular basis. I can't speak so much for a lot of what took place before I went into the team, but I can only give you some hearsay. You know what I mean? People who played for the West Indies before me, what they told me when they came back, you know, I'm not going to call names either.
And I also want you to whisper and tell us what happened to after you left. What were some of the stories you hear on this same subject? You don't have to call any name.
But let me talk about what happened when I went in there first of all. Because I've written about this, I've spoken about it, that when I went to this West Indies team, I did not find what some of these guys had been telling me before. Because I think Clive Lloyd changed the culture totally. Perhaps Sir Frank Worrell, or Frank Worrell as he was at the time he was captain, was similar in that he just didn't care where you're from. Once you're a cricketer, you're a cricketer. But I know that was the hallmark of Clive Hubert Lloyd. Lloyd did not care which island you were from. All Lloyd wanted to know is you're a good cricketer, you had the discipline, you wanted to do well, you were willing to work, and he wanted you in that team or in that setup. And that was my experience under Clive Lloyd. When I went into that team, I was very inexperienced. Going to Australia, I don't remember how many first-class games I had played, but I don't think I played more than half a dozen first-class games at the most. And going to Australia, I think Clive Lloyd again recognized my inexperience, my naivety, and he made me room with Lawrence Rowe early days because he knew I didn't know anybody. He knew I wasn't comfortable with a lot of other people around him, although they were happy to have me under their wing. He made me room with Lawrence Rowe because he knew that Lawrence and myself were good friends. We're from, not just from Jamaica alone, but we're good friends. So he wanted me to feel comfortable immediately. We didn't stay roommates forever because like, they didn't want people from the same island just rooming together.
Quite so.
You're from this. But he wanted me to feel comfortable early. So as soon as I, kind of felt comfortable, that relationship, not relationship, but that rooming arrangement changed. And that's why I tell people about Clive Lloyd. Clive Lloyd is a good manager. Everybody talk about, oh, he had so many great batsmen and so many bowlers. All you have to do is just change the bowler. No. There have been a lot of teams, not just West Indies teams, a lot of teams all over the world that have had some outstanding cricketers and great cricketers that have not been as successful because they were not in the true sense a real team. And that's what Clive Lloyd had.
Was there camaraderie off the field? And if there were, did it disappear as soon as you went on the field? Was that the dichotomy in those two situations?
Well, as you know, Stratton, any family, you and your wife will have arguments sometimes. In any team, you'll always have clash of personalities at times. But the thing is, as soon as we got onto the field, we recognized that we were representing a people. And we wanted to make sure that we represented the people very well and make people proud of what we were doing. And we got rid of our little rubbish that was going on off the field. And we were out there as a West Indies team. When we came off the field, as I said, you have some people that will always have some little inconsistent way of behaving, if you want to put it mildly. But on the field, we were a team. I can relate a story again. I'm not going to call any names. It's happened in London.
Yes.
There was an argument on the team bus, and one person near to the front of the bus got up out of his seat and charged to the back of the bus and grabbed the other person in the back, and no fists were thrown, but it came close to a fisticuff. And of course, they were partied and everything calmed down. And the next day, one was a fast bowler, one was a batsman. I'll give you that much because that I have to tell you that because
that's all like a giveaway.
Mine know you whet your appetite.
No,
you know.
it's not a giveaway. But I have to tell you that because it is obvious from the story. The next day, the bowler ran up, hit the edge of a batsman, and it went to the
Batsman who caught it
in the slips.
Yeah.
Took the catch, and he and the bowler were hugging and almost kissing because this is no West Indies team.
Yes.
This is no longer personality business, and that is the way we operated.
Let me ask you
As I
this.
said, you always have one and two little clashes, but nothing serious.
Let me ask you this. Reading about reading all the comments after the match, all that was said, I note a comment by Coach Phil Simmons. Words to the effect, how he was pleased with the change in culture. Now, you can just say that that is the expression of a happy man. Or you can pick at it. As you know, sometimes Curtis cheekily picks at things. Is it perhaps an admission that the culture before was not necessarily at the levels he deemed satisfactory? And I'm just asking that aloud.
Yeah, but Curtis, you don't have to pick at it. If somebody says that there's a change in culture, it obviously means there's a change in culture.
Hello. We said we were going to be polite this evening. I'm just following you. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, but if somebody says there's a change,
that's it. That's it.
And yeah, and he didn't say a deterioration.
No,
If
no.
there was a deterioration, it would have meant a lot.
This is it.
When he says that change, he's talking about an improvement, something that is beneficial to the team. Sometimes you can understand that in occurs is because you have a lot of people coming into the team who are not accustomed to losing.
Right.
When you get accustomed to losing and it's just another game that you have lost, it means nothing. I have seen West Indies teams. I have done commentary on West Indies teams. I'll tell you a match that I did commentary on in India when we were heading towards the possibility of losing a test match. It looked highly likely that we would lose a test match. We are on the fourth day. It starts to rain. We are in the field. And the captain basically makes sure India win the game that 48th afternoon because I didn't want to come back the 5th day.
Right.
Because we're so accustomed to losing. If it was in our era, we would slow down things. Who knows if it will rain the 5th day?
Yes, clearly.
But that captain, that team, that era, so accustomed to losing. Oh, if we lose today or lose tomorrow, just another loss.
So the substitutes are actually, and this is the final question from me, I'm sure Stratton has one question more for you,
yes.
because we have to wrap up now. So the substitutes, no second stringers, but the substitutes were showing us all what the culture should be.
Well, that's what the coach is saying. I didn't see the game.
Wonderful.
Well, Curtis,
yes.
you're with them.
Yes.
We are just watching on the TV.
Right.
We don't know what's happening in the dressing room.
Right.
We can tell body language sometimes by watching the TV. But he's there with them. He's living with them.
Right.
And if he says that, we have to understand that he knows.
Right.
Well, we really lead you for much more. But my final question, Mikey. You read the letter. How much of what is
No, I didn't read the letter. I didn't read the letter. No,
Well,
I haven't seen it. No. I only heard people talking about it.
Yeah, well, the question may be redundant then. But based on what you have heard, was what motivated this team resident in the team that Clive built with yourself and others?
Well, I would assume so. I haven't read the letter, but I know I can suspect what Lloyd would have been saying in the letter. I can suspect what he would have been trying to impart on them.
Self-belief was critical. self-belief.
Well, that has to be,
And the value
it has
of
to
playing
be.
for the
Once-
West Indies.
Well, that is something again that we have to try and put to the forefront. Times have changed. I can tell you something again about when Fire in Babylon came out, that documentary. And we were showing it around the Caribbean, and I went to a few of the viewings. And currently, at the time, West Indies cricketers were there. A couple of them came to me and told me straight they cannot identify with that because they don't come across what we came across in the 60s, 70s, 80s. So they don't identify with that.
My.
But times change, but at the same time, we have to recognize whoever is playing, whoever is representing the region, they have to recognize that they're not just representing themselves. We see people, my brother-in-law, before I even started playing the West Indies, it's not a matter of because I am playing the West Indies. Before I started playing the West Indies, when West Indies were losing, he disappeared. He gone to the bathroom. He couldn't take it. And I know in my time and since my time, I've seen people get physically sick when West Indies don't do well.
Oh yes.
So I don't think a lot of our cricketers understand that.
Mikey, when
You're not just playing for yourself.
Yeah.
You're not just playing for your bank balance. You're not just playing for your family. You're representing a people.
And you're giving them hope. You're giving them hope.
Well, that is the thing.
And you're making them believe.
That is the thing.
And by virtue of how you approach the game, you are making them believe that their own lives have worth. Win, lose, or draw.
Yes.
That is exactly it.
And it uplifts the people. I'll give you one last one before you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are the days that when I was doing cricket in the Caribbean. I haven't done cricket in the Caribbean since about 2012. But again, we were in Trinidad, and I was with some Jamaicans because I was there with some Jamaicans and one particular Guyanese. Because these guys were good friends, and I went down to the hotel to have a chat with them and all that. And one of them was saying to me, boy, them are under pressure and the public giving them pressure and public cussing them and whatever. And I said to that person, let me tell you something. They are under pressure and the public cursing you because they care. If they didn't care, you wouldn't hear anything from them.
Yes.
They want you to do well. And whenever you do well, you'll see them supporting you. That is the life. That is life. Nobody loves a loser. It so happens that we won that test match in Trinidad. You see, when we landed in Guyana, people were on the tarmac. The police couldn't stop them. People were on the tarmac, and when we were coming off the plane, I went to the same gentleman and said to him, you see what I'm talking about?
All right,
Michael,
Michael. Yes,
always,
thank you
so
very
good.
much.
Thank you.
Right?
No problem, man.
We're just getting
care.
started. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
All righty, welcome back to the Real Chat. Stratton Palmer here with
Curtis Myrie.
and Curtis. We speak to the interview we just had with Mikey Holden. Always very, very crucial in what he says, the stories that he tells, and it gives you insight into what happens behind the scene. And quite a number of stories related to us just now. But what stands out is that the team was always the team on the field, and they always represented the West Indies team to the best of their ability, and sometimes even beyond.
Let me tell you something. It's always how you're driven. George Lamming, with that epic story and tale, that's such a wonderful book about our Caribbean identity demonstrably as we take to the crease to play cricket. The title of that book, Beyond the Boundary. C.L.R. James, beg your pardon. C.L.R. James, Beyond the Boundary. You can't know what you're about. You can't know what it is that you're here and there for without understanding how you're going to move beyond boundaries. Because when you do that, you really then understand your true worth. And that's exactly what Mikey has been saying. All we know maybe choke each other in the dressing room. Yeah. Once we are coming out onto the field, it's not only about us. It is about the whole region. It is about what we stand for. It is about what we want to say to the world about our competence, about our own self-esteem, and about our own self-worth.
And that this happens if you're on the field or off the field. Those things are standard. And you're looking from the field out and from out in. And it tells the story of how you interplay both situations.
And I want to come back to this, because when I saw it in the paper, I said, nobody's talking much about this. The comments by Phil Simmons.
Yes.
Being very pleased at the change, he said, in culture. The change in culture that was being more articulated, right? That was being better shown by the replacement team, by the substitutes.
Right, but what bothers me about that, Curtis, is that we did never inkling of this before. And if you inherited that, some statement should have been made which told those who are coming into the team that we need that change.
Excellent point, Stratton. And I'll tell you this, on that same score, this is what we must now be vigilantly watching to see. With a new team, with a young team, showing us the resolve, because that's the culture, the resolve that we have always been asking for, right? Playing with this sort of determination and grit, because it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win every day.
Yes.
But playing with this grit, I am going to see beyond Bangladesh, when the regular team wants to come back to play, how are we going to be treating those who now are making the mark, those who now are showing the culture what we need, and the grit that we have always wanted? Are they just going to be swept aside?
Well, as I said, all things come together for good. It is good that they stayed away because we have seen a change. Let's make it permanent.
And let us, having seen what we want, let us know now what we are going to demand of all.
Standards are
and
set.
Insist on the standards that must be attained and maintained.
Yes. We take a break.
We take a break. Welcome back to Real Chat. And we have been having quite a chat, eh?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, yes, yes. And again, we are saying that this afternoon, in having a look at the young West Indies players, in having a look at that epic victory, in having a look at all that we weren't expecting, what is it showing us? What is it saying to us? How do we reach across the divide? Through the letter that Clive Lloyd sent and beyond, because motivation is going to be, how we keep motivating our young is going to be dependent on a lot more things than the letter that Clive Lloyd has sent, right? We have on the line with us Barbadian Desmond Haynes, dazzling opening batsman, formidable partnership with Gordon Greenwich for the West Indies of the 1980s, 1991 Wisden Cricketer of the Year, 7,487 runs in 116 test matches, coach, guide, former senator. Welcome, Desmond Haynes.
Hi, good evening. Yeah. How are you doing?
We're good.
Can I call you Cliff? Can I call you Cliff?
You can call me Curtis, yes, and there's Stratton here.
Stratton, yeah.
Sorry, Curtis
And Stratton.
Stratton is your partner.
Yes,
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 yes.
yes.
Okay. How are you doing, Curtis?
I'm his Gordon Greenwich.
All right.
But Desmond certainly a man of many records. You know, when he started ODI, he played his first ODI, got 148 against Australia. That was way back in about 78, Desmond. And then when he left in 94, playing the one day, he turned that total run from 48 to 184, starting and finishing.
Okay.
And then he would have been possibly one of the only batsmen to bat through the innings 3 times. And there was a match in which he played and was last out in both innings of the match. Fantastic performance for an opener.
A man looking at his countryman, and I'm sure you watched every ball, and watched at how we addressed every delivery. Looking at Kyle during that innings, that sterling innings of 210 not out, what went through your mind?
Well, first, Curtis and Stratton, just let me say that I believe that you two guys are very, very privileged, yeah? Because I don't really do interviews. You know, I normally do a little bit of my own on my YouTube channel or whatever the case may be, whereas that I would try to reach my audience, you know, my fans.
Right.
But because of my my partner Michael Holding,
Right.
who spoke very highly of you two, it gave me the reason to say to myself that I'll make myself available for this interview, which I believe is you know, talking about a young man from my club here in Barbados, and to share my views of, you know, what I saw, because obviously I had the opportunity to watch all of that day's play, the final day's play, when he got the 210. And it came at a very unfortunate situation where, in fact, that during that same day, I got the news that my great friend Ezra Mosley had passed away.
Yes.
And
condolences.
Right. It really knocked me for 6. And then it had me in a situation where I felt so low that I came out to, because I'm doing my little gardens here, planting some vegetables and so forth. And I came out of my garden. I went to bed rather early.
As long as you won't tell Stratton how I badgered you all day yesterday to sort of get.
Well, to be quite honest, I believe that you have another calling, because I believe that you should look at the political arena. I thought that you argue your case and Stratton case very well in making sure that I am here. So, but getting back to my point where that I was talking about
Right.
The young man in Kyle Mears, you know, who I watched play, and I was very, very impressed with the way he played. I think that knowing him personally, he's the one guy that he's full of confidence. He's only played, this is the second test match now, was played yesterday. But, for somebody, he wanted this, he always wanted to play test cricket. He's a very strong guy. He just came off an ankle injury. I think he broke his ankle last year.
2018.
Right.
And, and he's a very strong guy. And what he believes in himself, And I can see, even watching the cricket last night again, I can see the type of confidence now that has gone into the team after that win. The guys batted last night with a bit of a purpose. They run well between the wickets. Congrats to Bonner again, who was playing well, and Craig Bassett, again looking the part as a leader in the batting lineup, and I was very impressed. But I don't think that and I was saying this to one of Kyle's uncle last night, and I said to him that, I think that what we should do as ex-cricketers and people from the region is that we should really big up that innings that Kyle Mears played to help us to win that first test match in Bangladesh. Because one, we are very critical about the West Indies when they're not doing well. And I think it's only fair when you see a West Indies team. And, we personally, we only got one team to support. We can't support England. We can't support Australia. You know what I mean? So we have to support West Indies at all times. Okay, yes, we do feel very, very upset and very, very bad when we don't win. But I think for a young man on debut in the fourth innings, playing in Bangladesh away from home and making 210 not out, but also winning the game for West Indies, that needs to be celebrated. And I don't think that we should be looking to knock no board and knock no coaches and knock anybody. One of the things that we should be doing now is celebrating a young man who has done exceptionally well. And from my discussion last night with his uncle, we said that what we would do is to make sure we have the conversation where we look at his weak points and try to make him even better as he go forward. He's on a high now. And, when you're on a high like that, it's not very easy for you to continue that high, because as the game has its highs and lows. So, he's on a high, but we are so confident with him that we believe that the young man, and he's so confident with himself that he would continue to make us proud.
Do you see a kind of parallel with yourself? Because when you came into Test cricket, we knew you as the hammer, a man who really came and made shot, beat the ball. But then you're able to curtail and manufacture yourself to the demands of Test cricket. Is that the next step that the man who is a member of your club at Carlton, Kyle Mears, will now have to look at? Yes, he has the power. Yes, he has the stroke play, and he has shown the tenacity, but becoming more solid in terms of adjusting to the differences in pitches and situations.
Well, I think it's difficult to make the comparison, saying the fact that Kyle bats down the order and I was the opening batsman. Yeah. So it is quite obvious that if I had continued with the way how I came into the one-day arena, hitting every ball that I see, that I think I could hit it for four and everything, I think, with a new ball in a test match, that you're not going to be very consistent, But I decided that what I would do is to work on my cricket. So obviously, I never really wanted to go back and work in the hotel. I wanted to make cricket my livelihood, and I worked very hard at my game. I had a very good support team, just as Kyle has a good support team. I had a very good support team, which, they critiqued me, and then, we said, look, okay, yeah, we know that you're a little weak against spin. These are things that you have to improve on. You play the short ball well, you're very good off your legs, and that is what, you need when you are playing and you want to get better. When you're playing the highest level of cricket, you just can't be mediocre. You've got to strive to be the best that you can be, and you should always be looking at working on your technique, trying to get better, spending some more time in the net, looking at your fitness levels, talking to past players, getting information that would help you as you go on.
Yes, man.
I jumped in my seat when you said talking to past players. Let me start first by saying this. We have been talking about Clive Lloyd's letter to the players all afternoon. We have been looking at the change in culture, says Coach Phil Simmons,
yes.
right? And now we are talking, we just finished talking to Michael Holding. Hopefully we'll be talking to Jeffrey Dujon after talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not writing a letter. Fine.
No,
We're
no.
asking you to what would you have said and what will you still be saying, because we have to move beyond the letter in our efforts to keep motivating these young players. What would you be telling, and you're now coach, what would you be telling these young players? How would you be reaching out to the young West Indies team, to the present day players?
Well, I think that when you look at, you talk about Clive Lloyd's letter, whereas that Clive Lloyd did mention the fact that, you have to believe in yourself. Don't think that you come here and it's a second-rate team. And, I think that one of the things about my cricket over the years is that I was always a very positive person. And I knew very well that if I'm opening the batting for West Indies, I can say the nicest things to Tomo and Lily. I can tell them how nice his family is and what a lovely, and his kids, and how lovely the kids are, and they're really looking healthy and all of that. I still going to get some short pitch deliveries that might take me out of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
So my belief was one of the things that I always felt, that I knew what I was coming up against. I could not be worried about them, you know me. I am going to war. I am fighting. I know what I have to do, and I am going to back myself. And I think that is what a lot of the young players now in the West Indies team, they need the confidence. You see, the problem with the West Indies players, especially the batsmen, is the fact that we haven't been winning anything. And it's very hard all the time. And the other thing, too, is that you can say what you like. I have never played cricket in a bubble. But I can guarantee you that got to be very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So, so there are a lot of things that might be going against the present players at the moment that you really have to appreciate. But I think that what they need is the self-belief. And that's what I think is in Kyle Mears. I like how the captain in Craig Baffett, he looked determined, because he's been having a rough time. He haven't had really any good scores of late. So he's looking determined. Then you got the young Bonner, who's looking to see if he can get into this team when all the big boys come back. So there's a lot to play for. But what I would be saying to them is that, look, you need that self-belief. You need to believe in yourselves, right? We look and we compare a lot of the other cricketers from around the world. You know what I mean? They're not much better than us.
No.
The main fact is that they're playing in a level of competition that is going to test them, more than at our level here, because as you would appreciate, the level and the standard of cricket in the Caribbean is not as great as it used to be. We've got the talent here.
Yeah.
We've got the talent, and all these guys need to do is to have that self-belief. But again, one significant point that you should always remember is that they need that knowledge in the dressing room or at somewhere where they can tap into it to help them to make decisions. Because sometimes you find that as a batsman, you batting well, but then you play some silly shot, and it's because of your shot selection, right? You need to talk to people who have been there and been through it. And then they will tell you, well, listen, look, there's this man that is coming into your head and tell you a lot of nonsense about play across the line of the ball, stick to your plan, keep playing ball. A lot of things that help the past greats like Viv and the same Clive Lloyd, to Gordon, all of these guys who have been there that have something to offer in line of knowledge. They all are not going to be coaches And I think that's the mistake that we are making. We all cannot be coaches, but I can tell you, we can be damn good motivators, and it's proven in Lloydie's letter. It's proven when you look at what people do for certification, when they go and listen to the lectures. So it means that by having that knowledge in the Caribbean, please, for God's sake, West Indies, tap into the past knowledge. It is not going to do those players any harm.
How should that be done? Because I'm peeved about the fact that Blackwood could go to a Coley and ask him questions, and yet we are hearing reports that they find it difficult to approach our older players, our legends, those who made West Indies cricket the significant feature of the Caribbean. How do we bridge that gap, Desmond?
And how do we dispel that myth? Because that's a myth.
I am not going to sit here and defend all of my colleagues. But I feel like I could only judge from my experience. I used to torment the late Sir Everton Weeks. I used to ask Sir Garfield Sobers every time I see him in the golf course about. I remember one time I was going up to England for the first time in 1980, and I went to Sir Gary and I said to him, I'm going up to England, and everybody's telling me I have to get on the front foot, because the ball's swinging, you have to cut out the swinging ball. And Sir Gary looked at me like if I was a madman. He said, what are you talking about? That is nonsense. He said, I just wait till when it swings and hit it. I don't go on the front foot unnecessarily. I said, okay. Well, if you say that. But getting back to the point of interacting with the past players, it cannot be that difficult. And the reason why it cannot be that difficult is because you should hold the territories and the West Indies Cricket Board accountable for that relationship.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I went and I applied for the post as the West Indies coach, and I had my interviews. And what was so funny is that I did say to the committee at the time there, you all are free to use any of the ideas that I present here today. Because I'm interested in West Indies cricket. I will come in there with no baggage. I ain't coming there to knock nobody. What I find is that sometimes you look at West Indies and some people in authority, right? They remind me a lot of politicians, like how you approach me, Curtis. You know what I mean? They're very good around election time, and then after that, you don't see them.
I trust we will maintain our relationship. And I shall return.
Speaking about, because you have put up yourself to continue to support and improve West Indies cricket. At one point, you were even shortlisted to be the coach of India. You captained the West Indies for a couple of games. You possibly could have been and should have been West Indies captain. The coaching situation is there. You still make a contribution at the club, etc. The role that Desmond Haynes could play, could it be much greater than, the average legend in terms of just giving information, actually sitting in the seat?
And I'll add to that, Desmond,
sitting in the seat.
because you did mention it. Let's say we can't all be coaches. So what else is to be fashioned? What else to be fashioned?
Curtis, picture yourself back in your school days. They got that little boy in the class that everybody, that face, that somebody just didn't like that face.
Yeah.
All right, I said no more then.
Oh, God.
No, because the thing about it is that I've done everything in my power to assist and to help West Indies cricket.
Yeah.
I said that I would go and I would apply for the coach. I was promised that I would be contacted, and they said nobody have ever reached out to me since my interview with the West Indies Cricket Board as the coach. So I have given up, and I've realized that it is quite obvious that the powers to be don't think that I can make a difference and can help West Indies cricket. So I have already got that, as a thank you from them.
I will tell.
So what I do is that I reach out to other people, and when anybody call me, Craig or any of the youngsters, I always reach out to them. I don't charge nobody for thing. If somebody look and say, man, look, Daddy, I feel sorry for you. Let me give you a back so you can give a youngster or something like that. You know me. I'm thankful, but I am always there to help because I came up in a way where that a lot of people helped me. I had so much help. It was unbelievable. You know me. A lot of people reach out to me when in my area. The fellas would not let me stray. Man, used to tell me, listen, you can't walk one with certain people because that going to stop you from playing cricket for West Indies. You're gonna be the next best thing from our area and hold us in here. You come back, boy. You know what I mean? So you had that guidance, and as I said to you before, a very good support team. From very early age. So it is only my duty to give back as much as I can.
Well,
and that is the reason why I set up my foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Desmond Haynes Foundation, which I give scholarships to young cricketers from Barbados to go to college or university.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the likes of Keon Harding, who was a recipient. I had young Basford Drake, Dominic Drake, who was one of the recipients. And and I continue, and there were a few more. One guy who was studying second year of medicine. Or we did reach out to some of the under 15 players at one stage and everything. And now we had a very big program where that we were looking in 2020 to give away 20 scholarships, and then this coronavirus came in and created a problem. But the money is still there, and we are still going to honor our commitment. At the moment, we have made a commitment to a young lady cricketer who is going to Canada to play some cricket and to study. And so that is the reason why I do this, because of the help that was given to me.
And this is the reason because we are being given the finger to say it's time to go. But I'll tell you this, it is the reason why you do what you do. And it is the very reason why we'll keep doing what we are doing, because we must keep lobbying as to how, as you said before, that you get everyone involved and you engage everyone, because there is a lot to do to bond and to make the players much better as you tell them and show them how to better believe in themselves.
But Curtis, he has done so much already. Because
Curtis, before you go, let me just say this one thing, this final thing to you now. West Indies cricket concern all of us. It's not only the board members. It's not the board members. Sorry, West Indies cricket do not. The board. I mean, the West Indies cricket don't concern the board members. West Indies cricket is all of these things. All of us. You, me, the past grid. We are all stakeholders of West Indies cricket, and not one of us, not Desmond Haynes, not Michael Holden. We don't have all the answers. You know what I mean? But I believe personally that if we work collectively, I was talking to you yesterday, and I was saying to you that even a situation of selection, if Roger Harper had reached out to Desmond Haynes before the team went to Bangladesh, I might have said to Roger, boy, you listen, don't forget here, in our day we only had one team. With all these guys now not making themselves available, it might not be in a big lot of sense in carrying two teams down in Bangladesh. Let the same test men, right, play the 50-over game, because we still want to have a competitive 50-over competition, because we soon or later might have to qualify for the next World Cup. And then we can just add a few more players, into the test and carry about 20 people down there and let them play, instead of carrying a team, right, to play 50-over cricket that didn't have a chance at all.
Right.
I mean that is something that I was saying to myself, why it is that we feel that when we get a position that we know it all. No, when you're the West Indies captain, you don't know it all. When you're a West Indies chairman of selectors, you don't know it all. That's why I talk about, to the West Indies Cricket Board about having scouts, where we have people in the various islands filling the selectors with knowledge of the players that should be selected. And also, people got to understand that when you're the president of the West Indies, you don't know it all. We all need each other.
Right.
We have to understand this. And the whole idea is that if you get us involved and everybody's working together, you might probably find that you would reduce the criticism because you are now being a part of the problem.
All right, Sir Desmond. You
Good,
have done
good,
it all.
good.
Coach of the
Thank you so much.
Coach of the Tridents, chairman of the
And
Barbados.
remember, not a word about how I badgered you all day yesterday. Not a word.
Yeah, but that's why I tell you that you had the wrong call, that you got a new calling because you spoke for nearly 4 hours consistently. So that to me is very, very political.
Thank you, Desmond. And we'll come calling again. Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
My pleasure, buddy.
Good. Right.
Good, man.
Good.
Have a good day. Be safe,
Right.
huh?
Only
coronavirus
right.
Coronavirus is for real here.
All right. Good. Be safe. Only
Okay,
on Real Chat. We can assure you. Right? It's what we go in search of, trying to find the right sort of persons to engage. It's always revealing. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Real Chat, just in time to be joined by Jeffrey Dujon. Sterling career behind the stumps and in front, 267 test catches as wicketkeeper, 3,322 runs as a formidable lower order batsman, and certainly one could say revolution the number 7 position. That as a wicketkeeper, you must be a batsman of quality. And were it not for his wicket-keeping career, we don't know the quality batsman that the world would have seen. Jeffrey Dujon, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Scotty.
Jeffrey, you would have possibly heard of Clive Lloyd's letter and all that it said. Would that be part of your experience when you joined the team? I remember you went to Australia, you were a batsman, and then they found a position that this man could do both. Tell us about that experience.
Right, well, there weren't any letters involved since I was right there with him. So.
Yes.
But it was a situation where, you know, as a new player, I wouldn't say a young player because I was about 26 at that time. By then, coming into the team, it was very, very important that because there were so many established players in the team, you know, that you sort of found your feet very quickly and knew what was expected of you. And I thought that Clive Lloyd in particular made that sort of transition for me a lot easier because he found ways of making you realize that first of all that he respected you as an individual, respected you as a man, and behind that, you know, you needed to understand that works. You know, and so it made life a lot easier in terms of settling in because you weren't sort of, you know, treated like a youngster. You know, you were expected to, yeah.
Jeffrey, speak to those specific skill sets on and off the field that held you together as a unit.
Well, you know, he was a good man manager. You know, it wasn't the easiest team at the time to lead because you had a number of individuals who were very, very different by nature, and with varying size egos, you know.
Yes.
And so you had to sort of find a way to put that all together into a successful unit. And I think what we really rallied around was the fact that West Indies cricket was so important to us. We realized that the West Indian public expected a lot of us, you know, and I think everybody sort of bought into that, because whereas, you know, off the field we may have been, you know, everybody sort of went his own way, but when it came time to play and we crossed that line, we were there as a unit and we were playing for the same reason and for the same goal.
The story is the same coming from everyone we have spoken to so far. But looking at the success of Clive, the success of the team over that period, and hearing the captain speak about a change in culture with this group, which is in Bangladesh, is it telling us a story about what was happening before and why didn't we hear of this and why it wasn't pointed out earlier?
I don't think that it's any secret that, you know, the actual culture of the team has changed in terms of, I'm not sure that the focus is totally on, or rather, I think it is less now on that sort of West Indian pride that we engendered, you know, and more on, I guess, you know, the material things in life, because these guys are very well paid, you know, and a lot of them have never seen this kind of money before. So that is something that's a reality. Let's put it that way.
One last question from us. How would a Jeffrey Dujon, moving beyond the letter, how would a Jeffrey Dujon keep motivating the young West Indians and even the current team? The current team as the folks who didn't go on the tour to Bangladesh. Get them all together in a room. Speak to them.
Well, I think it would be, that was something that would be not be easy to do, because you know, I know what my motivation is. I know what my motivation was. You know, and I'm not sure if I would be able to get that across, or rather, it would be as important now, you know, to this younger generation of players. I mean, my main goal, and the only thing I could really pass on to them, is that you never stop learning, and as long as you're learning, there's an opportunity for you to get better. We have a lot of players in this current West Indies team, in the current squad of, you know, however many players, who are quite talented, but will never really fulfill their full potential, because I don't think they understand what it takes to be the best that you can be. You know, you can't get satisfied with the fact that you're there, that you're in the team, that you're performing reasonably well. If you're performing reasonably well, you're an average player. You know, you have to strive to be better. I think that is what made, you know, the Richards and the Greenwiches and those people better players, because they were always trying to get better. I don't see, this is not reflected in the figures I see. I always said figures don't lie. I don't see it reflected in the figures I'm seeing from our players now. So I think they've got to get themselves out of this little comfort zone where, you know, they get to play every now and then, or they get to play consistently, and they're comfortable financially. So the motivation is there to get better. It's all about getting better. You try to get better until the day you stop playing.
All right.
And I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that fire. I'm not seeing that desire, and it's not being reflected in the results.
Thanks for taking time to join us, Jeffrey. You know that you made time to do this, so we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Eh?
Not a problem. Anytime, Stratty.
All right, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Okay, Curtis.
Right.
Okay, take care.
Good. Welcome back to Real Chat. And we have been having quite a robust conversation, right? On the whole question of motivation, right? We have been so taken with the performance of the West Indies cricket team in the opening test against Bangladesh. Epic victory. Good. And we have been discussing all that it is going to take in terms of will, in terms of pride, in terms of self-worth to keep holding them together. Another topic that has robust conversation all over it is the whole question, sometimes it has revolting conversation all over it, is the whole question of abortion. It's a melting pot of contending views worldwide, and the lid is easily removed, at times blown off, even here in Jamaica, by all the rising steam. Case in point, the recent launch of the Caribbean Policy Research Institute's Capri's abortion study titled Coming to Terms, The Social Cost of Abortion. Anglican cleric, the Reverend Sean Major Campbell, is not one shy of troubling social issues. But we were puzzled at the February 7 Sunday Gleaner headline, "Churches Must Back Off from Abortion Issue," says Reverend. Father Campbell, how are you?
I am fine, thank you. And how are you?
We are good. We are good. That was a startling headline. I am quite sure that wasn't what you were making reference to, nor did you say. How did they put that? How does that headline match, if it does any at all, what you were trying to comment on the issue?
Well, for starters, those were not my words.
Right. I'm almost sure they were.
And I
sure
also would not want to give any suggestion that in a democratic society, an organization or an individual or any group should not be free to express themselves.
Right, right. What are your own views about this subject?
Well, I put it this way. First of all, I am not pro-abortion. I am pro-choice. I wish we lived in a world where we didn't have to have abortions and talk about abortions. But I realize that reality is otherwise. And after all the quarrels, after all of those are said and done, we will still be left with poor women who are living in a society that prevents them from having access to safe abortion in the event they decide to do so.
Some say it shouldn't even be considered because family planning is accessible.
And of course, as with many other things, we have these arguments, but again, it is not as simple as that. There are some of what happens in the society would include the poor negotiating skills, the balance of power issue in relationships. And there are relationships in which, and the poorer the woman, the worse it gets, where it's difficult for a woman to actually have much say in terms of contraceptive use. So sometimes you actually have situations where a woman, for example, may be taking the pill or wants to take the pill, and her partner even takes them and throw them away. So there are situations where individuals get pregnant although they have been trying not to get pregnant and do not want to get pregnant.
And
So
in such a situation, if you do get pregnant, what then?
Hello?
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 Yes,
You heard the question?
Oh, if somebody gets pregnant, what then?
Yes. With all the efforts you make, not to get pregnant, but circumstances, situations, etc., and you do get pregnant, what then?
And that is the challenging situation. And when that challenge presents itself, it really is usually not an easy decision for the woman to make surrounding matters and decisions of abortion.
And your point is, she must have the choice.
Exactly. And in a legal context, because a legal context facilitates professional counseling, informed choices, versus having to hide, no possibility of professional advice, professional counseling. And then there is the matter of the system, the government system being pressured, being burdened, being challenged by the consequences of botched abortions. It's not unusual for a church sister in a number of churches to get an abortion done like on a Friday evening or Friday afternoon because she had to be at work all week,
And then on Sunday.
in the hope that she would make it to Sabbath school or Sunday school before anybody finds out. But the next thing she knows, she ends up in emergency for that weekend.
And the emergencies and the botched surgeries, right, are at times as a result of what we fear as response and reaction from our community and even the church. Eh?
Yes,
You're
yes.
saying, because we're talking about that church sister, you're saying that the clergy, the church, should be more engaging rather than be sending down lightning and thunder.
Correct.
Are you taking a neutral disposition in the situation, that you go with the situation, deal with reality? Is there a countervailing situation with the moral side of it? And you mentioned earlier that you're pro-abortion or anti-abortion.
No, he's pro-choice.
No, he said pro-abortion and
Pro-choice.
pro-choice.
He says pro-choice. He's not necessarily pro-abortion.
I heard both.
No, he said pro-choice.
He said pro-abortion and pro-choice, and we can listen to it after.
No. I said I am not pro-abortion. I am pro-choice.
Okay, all right. How do you then differentiate between the reality and the morality? How do you make a decision given such circumstance?
Reality and morality.
Yes.
Reality.
Yes.
Differentiate between reality and morality. I don't know if I'm getting this
You
question.
cited a situation about the real situation. People try not to get about abortion, but they do. Does that necessarily lead to an abortion, or you take the moral thing that you're pregnant, so I'll have the child?
I think I'm missing you somewhere.
I think so too.
Yes.
Is it a moral issue?
Hello?
There may be moral concerns.
Yes.
There may be moral concerns. The problem is, by the way, to whom am I speaking?
This is Strata. Yes, it's talking to Strata.
Okay. Yes. Yes, there may be moral concerns. The problem is where we start to force and define morality based on just our personal whims and fancy, and impose it on others.
Yes. But in a situation where somebody gets pregnant and because of the lack of support, the bleak future that they see for this offspring, etc., they make a decision to abort. Is that countervailing, or how would one make a decision in that situation?
I'm not really, to be honest with you,
Okay.
going down, to me, this is not about trying to drill down on a number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different items.
Yes.
I believe it's about a general principle and position, because every situation is different. It is because situations are different why it is not helpful to just come up with a universalized law and take and look at things through binary lens. It must be black or white, it must be right or wrong, it must be this or that. There are gray areas. Life is not as simple as just right or wrong, black or white.
Is this position somewhat a standalone, as it were? How is it in keeping normally with church tradition?
Right.
With my position,
Yes.
I would say it is in keeping with my position, generally speaking. I believe we should have conversations, we should have discussions, we should listen to the arguments and have room for the arguments and the conversation. Not just taking a high-handed approach and deciding, well, this is what the rules say, this is what the law say, full stop.
Does that reflect the position of the church, the Anglican Church?
Again, I would not generalize, but just to note that for the most part, it is not too difficult to find a broad view within the Anglican context.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So the view would not just simply say no, full stop.
Okay.
So the Anglican Church doesn't have a consensus position on abortion.
It depends on who is responding to that question, because for some people the position is contentious if the position facilitates conversation. And the Anglican approach facilitates conversation. It doesn't just say, no, you're wrong, you're going to hell, full stop.
One of the contentious issues of the study by Capri and their recommendations come to terms the social cost. Let's look at the social cost. One of the recommendations is that minors perhaps should have access to abortion, yes, should have access to abortion, to reproductive health, without parental interaction, and that has caused a boil ever since. But we know of a situation, and let's talk aloud. And when we grew up, even to have conversations with some parents about sex education was taboo, much less to be talking to some about abortion. That is what I am speaking about, and I'm maybe wrong and morally off point, but one, I believe, has to look at that when one speaks of choice, and when one speaks of preventing what we were talking about, the botched surgeries and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that is correct. And one of the things I like to recall, because it probably helps people to understand this a little more. I remember 25 years ago when we were in the thick of the conversation regarding whether or not children should have access to contraceptives and in particular condom use to prevent the spread of HIV, to prevent the spread of other STDs, to prevent unwanted pregnancy. And when some of the practitioners in the field of public health, etc., were suggesting that children should have access. Oh, there were people who were clutching pearls, and oh my God, how could they say such a thing? How could you be allowing your 14 or your 15-year-old boy, for example, to just go walk into and buy a car without parental consent? When the reality is, nobody, regardless of age, goes to his mother or father and says, your consent, I feel like I'm going to have sex now. You just, but when you come to the matter of sexual and reproductive health of girls, young girls, etc., it is not every parent who can deal with that. And some of them are even abusive. There are situations in Jamaica, and maybe as we speak, one might know, where a young girl is actually getting an unsafe abortion done. Neither of her parents are aware of it. But the girl knows that she's actually pregnant for her father. Now, whether it was the father or not, there are situations and circumstances and reasons why this girl may feel that she needs particular help, but she cannot go and talk to her parents about it. Should she commit suicide? Should she just work with the illegal thing? Or should she be able to have access to safe abortion in a context where she can be professionally advised, professionally directed, and professionally treated in the event that care is required?
Right. All right, Rev, it remains a complex issue. Perhaps it can be legislated, but then there are others who think otherwise.
And when we put it in that context, as you have just explained, then even though there are more questions than answers, we still must be willing to engage contending views.
Correct.
Stratton?
Of course.
All right. Thanks, Father. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Good.
We'll return. We just heard from Father Sean Major Campbell, Anglican cleric, stressing the point of being more engaging, because this is a lot of gray and not necessarily what is black as against what is white, right? We have with us Bishop Alvin Bailey, Vice President of the Jamaica Association of Evangelicals, a man renowned for wanting to rein in those he considers sympathetic to abortion, if not pro-abortion, right? There is stridency from your platform, Bishop Bailey. Why so? Why just black and white, as is perceived by some, with no gray area?
Well, first of all, I want to correct your initial statement, which is inciting a revolt against me, you know. Let it be clear that my statement was not a sexist statement or a statement that in any way is chauvinist.
No,
In
no,
fact,
no, no, and I'm not suggesting it either.
no, I'm not even saying that you are, but I'm not sure that there are some listeners who are prepared to give some amount of credibility to that.
Do apologize, do apologize, do
No, but
apologize.
I think it's worth of clarification.
Right.
I made a statement that her statement to advance, I get on with it, the task of the abortion debate, and for it's time for it to be passed in the House, and the fact that she's speaking her own opinion. And it came at a time when the Prime Minister was talking about the deterioration in morality. And he appealed to the nation for a heightened kind of morality and indeed the sanctity of human life, and he bewailed the senseless killings that are taking place. And my point was, at a time when her boss was making that kind of heartening statement to a society that was in a moral crisis, that it was insensitive for her to be talking like that. And furthermore, I don't know that she's speaking as a backbencher, she's speaking as a minister.
There's some who would claim that she is appalled about the incidents of the increasing incidents of injury and harm because of botched abortions. So, so maybe she was making the point of getting on with it because the more legal abortions, one would be perhaps saving lives. There's some who have argued it like that as well.
But I was going to go on to that as my next point. The fact of the matter is that I just want to understand that I think there's a level of accountability that all of us have to the persons and institutions that we work with. Mm-hmm. And if we talk out of turn and not consistent with that, then the accountability must be had. You know, that's where I was. That there must be some amount of accountability since she spoke out of turn and insensitive to her boss.
What are your views? What are your views?
No, my views is, first of all, I'm a Christian. Abortion must be defined and described as the deliberate decision to invade the womb and for the purpose of killing an unborn child. Mm-hmm. And there is absolutely no place in my Christian worldview or in a Christian society for that kind of barbarism, where because of the heightened number of the so-called batch abortion that is being done, which I question significantly, and we can talk about that you think the answer to that is to legitimize killing of unborn children. There's no place for that kind of argument in this contemporary day and age, in this time of heightened learning and intelligence. Yeah. You know,
are the cases of batch abortion the reason why one would not sanction it?
Well, I do not know that that batch abortion should ever cause us to consider legitimizing the killing of unborn lives. Batch abortion, and I question that. Who are doing these batch abortions? Are there a different set of specialists that are going to come in, be imported, or different type of training that are going to be given to the people who are now doing abortion for them to do it in a different method, style, and way? Mm-hmm. What are we seeing here? Yeah. I do not give any credibility that anybody is going to any Oberman to get any abortion done. Mm-hmm. The statistics that are on the table are statistics that are provided to them by legitimate institutions and individuals.
Are there any circumstances which would necessitate that an abortion be done based on your Christian worldview?
No, all right, no, there's absolutely none, and I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. 95%, or approximately, at most 95% of the abortion is abortion at will, for no reason except somebody don't want to carry that child. The other 5% are for the reasons of, one, incest, rape, and if the so-called mother's life is threatened. Let me just define the three. Mm-hmm. If it is in the case of rape, what you would have done is, three persons are involved. The child, the mother, and the rapist. You condemn the child to death and let the father go free, or at least get a reduced sentence if he is caught, and you instill a double trauma on that mother, which it has been proven by us and our institutions and churches, that if a mother received the counseling and care during the time of that trauma, you do not instill a second trauma, and she keeps her child or in a dignified way, give up that child for adoption.
It matters not. It matters not if she wants it or not.
I do not think
out goes the issue of choice.
All right.
Having been invaded and abused.
So we do not undo that action by abortion. It's unfortunate. It should not have been, but we do not undo the action by abortion. What we have done is instill a double trauma on that mother.
And I am not being a promoter of any particular position, but let me play devil's advocate.
Yes.
Do pardon the words.
Yes.
Who gives anybody else the right but the mother?
All right, good. And let me continue that statement for you. The right of a woman over her own body. Is that the way you want it is said, right? That is how it is said.
Yes, proceed. Yes.
That's how it is said. Well, that child is not, biologically speaking, scientifically speaking, or even religiously speaking, that child is not a part of the woman's body. That child enjoys a separate DNA from the mother, and often very different blood type from the mother. Once fertilization has taken place, a different person springs into being with his own DNA. So it's not a part of the woman's body. She mutilates her body very often and subjects it to indignity in order to kill that child. But the child is not a part of the woman's body. And I do not think that it is that liberty or freedom is the ability to do what we want. If that being the case, then look how many atrocities and crime would we have to cause people to go free if it involves them doing it to themselves. A man who feel like he wants to shoot drugs to himself, don't lock him up.
What a dilemma is presented to the mother in that case, in that if she has the child and she don't want it, should she give it up for adoption? But then again, as a mother, the maternal instinct come in and she may be attached to the child. You know,
exactly.
It makes it difficult for her, doesn't it?
No, and that's what we have said. That's what we have said, that it has proven. We can speak, unlike some other organizations which draw their statistics on limited information.
Yes.
We are seeing these people in our counseling centers, in our pastoral care and counseling practices, and we know that there's redemption and reconciliation and counseling, rehabilitation.
If you have that belief, what if you don't have that belief?
No.
Hold on, Bishop Bailey, because that's a critical question to be answered.
Yeah.
But before you do, in fact, after you do,
yes,
I want us to go back to the whole issue of the botched abortions, because you are saying you don't believe, but statistics are statistics.
What is
there are a number of botched abortions.
What are these? Somebody tell me what they are. What are botched abortions? Abortions that are done by who?
By persons, by family members, people with clothes hangers and
all sorts of things.
You know, there are certain things that take place without going to a certified medical individual.
And what percentage are these?
But you said a while ago 5%. Even
no, 5%. No, get us. Let's relax. Let's get it right. It is
on this program, sometimes we harass each other, you know.
I know. I'm good.
You know, your Stratton just tell me like a while that no, the gentleman did say so, and I had to say to him.
I thought he said.
Right. So yeah, this is it's
95% of the abortions that are being done are abortion on will, on demand. I do not want this child.
Anyhow,
period.
I don't want this to get into the way of the question that Stratton asked you. Stratton asked him again.
I would like somebody to tell me what are these abortions? What percentage of this 100%, 22,000?
No. A lot of them are done in secret.
A lot of them and it still remains serious concern. But again, let's not hold on. We can go back to that. But I just wanted you to keep it in mind.
I am keeping it in mind, and I'm keeping it in mind, and I'm saying that there's absolutely no reason for us to permit.
Yeah, but to go back to Stratton's point.
Yes, which is
Repeat the question.
No, repeat it.
It has eluded me.
But you forget your point, man. You can't forget your point, man.
You can't remember the botched argument. Yeah.
No,
No,
but,
I was asking the views that you have expressed. What if that individual who is faced with that choice don't share the belief that you share?
that was the question.
That was the question.
Oh, yeah. So, and
That
I'm
was the
saying to you that,
question.
listen, I speak about Christianity. And Christianity does not only offer to the person who is a believer. For example, rehabilitation, which is a psychological process, a psychiatric process, if you care to. So you go to a counseling psychologist who is not necessarily a Christian, who have a heightened worldview of life and not one that life is dispensable, can indeed, by presenting the picture before a human being, a mother, cause her to realize that they are
But you run into a problem again because you have to buy into that worldview.
Person that
What if you don't have that worldview?
hold on, Bishop. Hold on, Bishop. Let's hammer home Shatton's point. What if that person does not believe? And let me add to this: And let me add to that point: is Christianity a dogma?
Well, let me address the first one first, because you can define Christianity depending from which perspective you look at it. But let me just say to us, what faces that mother is a traumatic situation that you are offering her a remedy for, right? And instead of offering a remedy of abortion, we are offering a remedy of reconciliation, of conversion that has a large-scale benefit.
Fair and square, but isn't it still her right to choose?
And I'm saying to you, if a woman is presented with a heightened view of a life that she's about to terminate, and the lasting guilt that is associated with that, commensurate with, consistent with doing an abortion, is an implicit guilt that she carries for the rest of her life, then I'm saying to you that rationally,
without due respect, Bishop Bailey,
rationally, she will carry that, she will choose the option of life instead of death.
Well, still again, it's her choice. But guess what?
No,
them waving the stick at way.
No. Hold on. It is not her. At the moment, abortion is not legal, you know. So I don't want to tell people that they have a choice to go to abortion because it's not legal.
I know, that's why people are clamoring for us to have a second look.
But it is recommended if there are medical difficulties.
This is what we are talking about.
Right, let us talk about that one, medical.
No, but hold on. Bishop Bailey, we have to call you back, you know. You have to come back. No, man, listen, hold on. Here why I tell you that there's a ready platform. Hold on, Bishop Bailey. Hold on, my brother, hold on, please. Here why I tell you that you will have another platform. Next week, Capri is coming to Real Chat because they weren't able, the representative couldn't speak this week. So he will be sure the invitation is open for next week when we continue discussion with Capri. Yes, next week Thursday. Right?
All right, that's on my agenda. I'd love to do that because I want to tell him to withdraw that disgraceful report and apologize to the Jamaican people.
All right, Bishop. Thanks so much. You hear?
You're welcome.
Good. The steam is rising here on Real Chat. Back in a moment. Back with the Real Chat and the hot pot issue of abortion. Stratton,
Yes?
it's getting hot.
It's getting hot and will get hotter.
Yes.
But here's something which will soothe the soul and will
Indeed,
please,
because here's a different story.
Different story.
Erica Thompson, high school teacher and a child of God, who thought she couldn't have children, but had twins, amazingly, as prophesied in church. It's a particular story that tugs at the heart. Welcome, Erica. How are you?
Thank you. I am good. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Good. You know, Stratton wake me up in the night last night to tell me about your story. And to
He did?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Take the liberty of calling people all the time for hours, you know, Erica. Anyhow, we want you to share that story with us. Tell us about that story.
Okay, so I am not sure what version of the story you'd have listened to, but the interview that we did earlier this week was the shortened version, the curtailed version.
Give us the short
Give us your
yeah,
story.
yeah, give us the short
Okay,
version.
so I'll give you the short version. Leave it at some of the reasons. Okay, so there was a point in my life that I thought that I could not get pregnant. I got married, and when I got married, I told my husband that I truly don't think, I told him before, that I truly don't think I can have children. It's not that I got that diagnosis, you know, from any medical practitioner, but because of my experience, I thought I could not have children. And so when I got married, I told him as well, and my husband expressed to me that if I can't have children, that is actually okay. He would love me just the same, and you know, it would be an issue. Good.
Wonderful man.
I was in love, but you know, he did say that, and I believed him. And so, you know, I tried, and we were married, and it just didn't happen. And when I realized that we tried and it wasn't happening, I thought to myself, then this must be true, because I am married, I am trying, and there's nothing. So fast forward, we were just living our lives, and we had just stopped trying. And we went to a crusade on a Thursday evening, and then returned to the same church on the Sunday. And while we were at the crusade, a lot of persons were being ministered to at the altar, and we were standing at the back, and you know, we were just praying them through, and you know, praying for the deliverance and for the different things that people were at the altar for. While we were there, we heard when the minister said to us that he said, "You two down there." So we looked up, and when we looked behind us, there wasn't much persons behind us, and we were the two persons standing together. And he said to us, you know, "Do you know me?" So we kind of found that strange. So we said, "No, we don't." And he said, "Okay, do I know you?" And we said, "No." So he said, "Okay, well, I just wanted to ask that because of what I'm about to share with you, and I want people to know that I don't know you from anywhere." So we said, "Okay, fine, go ahead." And he said to us that the Lord said to tell us that he has seen our tears. So my husband looked at me, and he said, "Wow, you're crying right now, so you just make the man feel like you're crying," and you know. So I said, "Well, you know," so he said, "The Lord has seen your tears, and by this time next year, you will be embracing a son." So I start bawling, and my husband was like, okay. And he takes everything with a grain of salt, you know. He's very skeptical, and I mean, the word of God, he must test the spirit. So he said whatever he said to us, and we said, okay. So when church ended now, my husband walked ahead of me, and he went to the car, and I was leaving. And as I was leaving from under the tent, I chuckled to myself. I said, "Really, Lord, really? A son?" You know, and I laughed. And the Holy Spirit rebuked me immediately and said to me, "Why are you doubting me like Sarah did?" And immediately I turned back. I went under the tent, and I repented of it, because I knew that that was me doubting the Lord, even if it was for a second, just the fact that I doubted him. You know, I had to repent. So I repented of it, and I left. So when we went home, we discussed it, you know, how we felt about it, how much do we believe, not believe, all of that. We had an honest conversation. And we said, okay, so what we started doing was to calculate because it was April, it was in the month of April, we started calculating when we would have to conceive by to have the baby for April. And, we said, okay, and we started trying again. Nothing happened. And so we continued, nothing happened. A few months, and then I think it was in June. It was Father's Day. It was a Saturday before Father's Day, and I was at home, and I had a dream that I went to church and saw the same pastor, and he was saying something to my husband, but he whispered, and my husband and everybody else started dancing and celebrating, but nobody wanted to tell me what was going on. No matter how I asked, nobody told me. And I woke up and I told my husband, and he said, well, we're going to church tomorrow morning, let's see what happens. When we went to church, when I tell you, I'm not exaggerating, because one of the things about me is that the Lord speaks to me in dreams, and over the years it has developed, and I've matured to understand sometimes the things that the Lord is trying to say to me. So I was obedient and I went to church. When we went to church, exactly what I saw is exactly what took place. I was sitting down, he came inside. He came and I said, oh, he's a visiting preacher today. Fine. And he went up and he now started preaching. And because it was Father's Day, he was blessing all the fathers in church. So he said, okay, all fathers, please come to the altar. And so everybody, all the males went up. I don't think anybody was inside church who was a male except my husband sitting down. And so he said, you down there in the brown shirt, you come up as well. So my husband, in honesty, said, well, I'm not a father, so that's what I'm sitting. He said, no, man, come up here, you are a father. So the entire church said to him, no, he's not, he's telling the truth, he's not a father. And so, well, listen, he's a father, come up here. So my husband said, all right, he's going to be obedient to the man of God. And he went up, and he said to my husband, that, when the Lord is blessing you with something, you have to prepare for it. If he's giving you a house, you go out and you buy a key ring. If you are asking for a car and he's blessing with a car, you have to cut the driveway and make the driveway to prepare for the blessing. So if he's preparing you for children, you have to start buying diapers and wipes and all the different things that the child may need. And he went quiet for a little bit, and then he said, matter of fact, when you are preparing, don't prepare for one, prepare for two. So, the church went in uproar and the people just started worship, and I was just shocked. I said, what? I don't understand.
And now you have twins.
And I have twins, and it did happen, we still tried and it never happened, and we were saying, well, the month is going to pass and we won't be able to conceive for April. But what would happen is that, fast forward, what would happen is that did get pregnant. I got pregnant, but because of the type of twin pregnancy, it was very rare that they shared everything. So the doctors decided that it's best that they take them early, and they wanted to take them for April, and that's how they came for April. So the word did come true.
Oh,
quite a story.
It's quite a story. Shut up.
How are the children now?
They are good. They're sleeping. They turned 4 April. This April.
And you have been to church on Father's Day again, and did your husband stand this time?
Yes, definitely.
But let me ask you, Erica.
Sure.
Let me ask you. Should a woman keep her child if even during the most difficult of pregnancies, if even at the risk of her own life, in instances of rape, should she have a choice?
You're asking if in those instances the woman has a choice?
Yes.
She should.
Should she have a choice?
She should?
Yeah.
I mean, she should have the freedom to contemplate and to think about how she feels about what has taken place, however she got pregnant, or whatever the circumstances were. She should feel free to contemplate, to think about it, to, just focus on her. Okay, this is what is happening with me. What are my options? What do I do next? How do I go forward? She should have the freedom to do that. But as it relates to, her bringing the child into existence in terms of carrying the child until, her due date, I won't say that she should not have a choice. That is not a matter of choice. It is just a matter of what is the best thing. So if all of our parents had decided that, boy, this is the circumstance under which you came, I can't really keep you, then none of us would be here. So when you know when we say she don't have the right or she should choose what she wants to be done with her body, everything just sounds harsh. The conversations just always sound so harsh. And what I've explained to people is that there are so many women out of rape, out of various circumstances who they have their feelings to contend with, and they have their different circumstances, and it is hard. But you know, if it is that you say to the entire world, oh, just do what you want, that God don't want us to live in a world where we do what we want, and He would want us. That's what God would want. He would want us to bring the children to fruition, to bring them forward. So just as that lady in the Bible, Hagar, her child came out of very unusual circumstances, and she never wanted to, but the baby came. And even after the baby came, she decided to bring the baby in a desert and leave the baby to die. And she watched the baby from a bow shot away, crying, crying, crying. And the angel of the Lord came to her and said to her, I have heard, the God has heard the baby crying. Take the baby by the hand, and I will make the baby into a great nation. So the point is, all children have purpose. And if it is that we abort all the children, then the purpose will die, and purpose cannot die and shall not die. And so we are encouraging women. I encourage women, everybody who I know, as best as is possible. We're not saying do this, do that, do what, you know, you have your right, do what you want to do with your body. All we're saying is I wish that the babies could have a chance. Give them a chance at life. So everything is that when they come forward, you don't want them.
So from a biblical perspective, you say have the child, but you are saying that there are other considerations which could prevent that supposed mother from going forward.
All right.
So you're open-minded.
So you're open-minded.
Yeah, I mean, have the conversation. We people consider things all the time. We consider all sorts of things all the time, whether it's wrong or it's right.
Okay.
We consider it. So I want you to feel comfortable to consider.
Well, on that note, there's no better note.
Yeah, thank you so much.
There's no better note to end it. Right.
Good.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. All right. Billy says we can't be speechless at the end of any quarter segment, you see. So we have to find something to say. Even if sometimes we're stunned by the stories. Back with chat. And here we have, Tanisha, we have been discussing all the variables and the contending points of abortion. You're a young mother, right?
Yes, I am.
What are your own views on the subject?
Okay, regarding to abortion, it all depends on the mother or the type of situation, because we all know that poverty is in Jamaica, and to take it to brought forth a child in this world, it's very hard to upbringing once you don't have support behind you. Even the mother or the father or family members to assist you. So sometimes it's kind of difficult in taking or brought forward a child in this world.
All right. Do you feel that you should be trying to bring the child, or you just have to be looking at all the social implications and leaving it as your right to choose?
Actually, it's both parents have to make the decision. Sometimes when we both make decisions, your partner and yourself, and when it boils down to the nitty-gritty, you see that you stand all by yourself. So as a mother, you have to take precautions and bear in mind that you're going to have this child forever. It's your child. So you have to know what you're doing. You can only depend on the father himself to assist. You have to do what is best for you and the child.
Is it about being about straight economics, or is there a moral issue to be considered?
Actually, I would say both. Well, I would say both because um, remember that it's very difficult because the child actually depends on you. You're the role model for the child by upbringing the child. So you have to know that, okay, then certain responsibilities you have to take up. It's not like when you're all by yourself like before. You have to train the child for morals to come in this world, as well as know the difficulties, what the child has to face growing up as well.
What about, and one last question, in instances of rape and incest and so on, what would be your considerations then?
I'm sorry? I didn't hear you.
In instances of rape and incest, what would be your considerations then?
Well, regarding to incest, you have to really watch your child growing up, because sometimes you have your family members who you trust in the home. And because you trust them so much, you like everything, if the child comes to you and tell you regarding to whatever is taking place with the incest, like a family member, a uncle, a brother, sometimes even the father, you don't know. Or if you and the father depart,
and if a child comes from that unholy union, the lady has a right, you think, to...
Yes, they have a right. Because I have actually close friends of mine who were in the situation growing up, and they still blame their mother for it, and it's the mother best friend had done it. And the mother never believed the child. So it does happen. So once a mother knows that, all right, there are implications, they have to believe the child, because the child wouldn't just jump and just say that, somebody had molested them or incest in,
and in that case, perhaps the choice to abort may be less traumatic.
Abortion, it all boils down back to the mother, not even the father, because sometimes the father would said, okay, both of you guys decide that you're going to have a child. And when you come to the decision and you tell the father it's himself, I'm pregnant, he's saying that it's not his child, or he doesn't want a child, or he's not ready for the child. So what the mother is going to do? So that's why most mothers make the decision for themselves and have the child not coming into poverty.
Okay.
All righty.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Tanisha.
Another view on the matter,
Yes,
right?
yes.
When we return, we speak to someone who has to be directing the lives of others who have been abused and sometimes end up with HIV as a result. What does one do in that case? When we return. Back with Real Chat, and we now have Joy Crawford with us, Executive Director and co-founder E for Life, organization serving young mothers living with HIV. What's your view on abortion?
Stephen Curtis Stratton.
Hi, Joy.
Thanks for the opportunity to have this conversation. I had shared with you just now a brief that we were able to make to the Joint Select Committee last January on this issue through the lens of the clients that we work with. And there are about 3 or 4 calls in it, which hopefully we can, look at. So, but there are 3 things I want to say. One, the issue around we can't be pro-pregnancy. A lot of pro-life conversation that I've heard is really about the pregnancy, that we will defend this pregnancy from conception until the delivery. And then after that, the support and the conversation and all the other social demands that we require to make sure that this child lives a healthy, happy life, the advocates disappear. The other thing I want to point out is that the abortion conversation has gender burden on the woman. And the pregnancy actually took male and female zygotes as we know it. But it's very heavy on the woman, and that the burden of the judgment and the burden of the name calling and then the burden of the condemnation is heavily on the woman. And then the last thing I want to say in opening is the issue around choice. My ability to make a choice, an informed choice, you don't know what my choice will be. So to determine that because I have my right to choose, I will choose a particular way, one way or another, is really unfair. It's really narrow-minded. And every time I hear people talk about we don't want to throw away all the babies, there's nothing that says all. With everything I've heard so far, and in particular with the women and girls that I work with, this conception never happened in that mutually loving, nurturing environment. Usually when that happens, this sort of abortion doesn't even come across the mind of a female. So I want to really think about what are we really debating in this pro-life or pro-choice conversation. That's my opening thought.
Okay, wonderful. Looking at the situation, you said the burden is on the woman, eh?
Yes.
If a woman decides that she wants to terminate, the man, does he have a say, and how important is that say?
I think that say would naturally happen based on the type of relationships that they have. So I heard, for example, earlier the issue around rape and incest. A lot of those situations, the male will not come forward, or if he has come forward, he becomes a fugitive, or he's running away, or he's expecting to face a rape charge, or that kind of environment. He doesn't participate actively in anything. As a matter of fact, he becomes almost a criminal.
Right.
In the environment where, there may be a seemingly loving relationship, and the girl is pregnant, and then the man says, I don't want you to have this baby. I did not want the pregnancy. And most times the man is the one who's giving the money for her to have the abortion. He has already decided the role that he wants to play. He doesn't want to have the child. And he's saying, if you carry the child, I won't be around for you. So I don't know if this male playing the decision would really swing it. The man who I think is in a relationship with a woman says, I'm going to abort the child, and he says, oh honey, please don't do it, I beg you, keep it. More than likely, abortion would not have been a conversation.
Well, is it a static situation, abortion or pro-choice, or is it situational?
I think the choice is not situational. The circumstances are. Choice is a human rights issue. I have a right to choose about my autonomy. And so, for example, in our presentation to the Joint Select Committee, we asked that the Joint Select uphold human and child rights to participate in sexual reproductive choices. It's a right for a female to be able to do this. It's her right to have that choice. The circumstances can be fluid.
But since it's not a case of gender, and since it is not, and since it's not a case of gender, and since it is a case of choice, isn't my right and choice as father, how much weight does that carry in this decision being taken?
I think it carries a lot of weight. But the point I'm making is that if somebody can give me a scenario where the woman says, I'm going to have an abortion, and she tells the man, and he is going to now say, no, I don't want you to have an abortion. I'm going to be here to support you, X, Y, and Z, that he will not be able to swing her choice. The point I'm making is that most times when the contemplation of abortion happens, or even the abortion takes place illegally in our country, is where there is no male support,
Okay.
or the male factor is delinquent, or in a lot of cases criminal. Women want support. Women want to know that the person is going to stand with them. But often that's not the case.
What if it is the case of disrupting someone's life? And you know what I mean.
Who's the someone?
Yes, question.
Both? In other words, John and Myrie should not have gotten together.
Okay.
Right? And they did.
Yes.
Right? This is an adult program. And they
Yes.
did. And they may both be able, because I've known of instances of this, right? And they may be both able to provide for their child.
And then the woman says no, she don't want it.
No, because or the man says no, he doesn't want it because it might be disrupting my life, because we shouldn't be have had this at any at all.
And so exactly, so I'm saying, Curtis, when a man takes that position that no, I don't want to be a part of your life, then he has made a decision.
Or she's saying no, because it might also disrupt my life.
Yes, so the timing is wrong, eh?
Yes.
And I'm not ready for this now.
Right.
Which comes back to what I'm saying, in that those kind of thoughts is demonstrating that none of them two people are not really ready.
Right,
For
right.
this thing. Because if they were ready, they wouldn't be having the conversation. Or if either was ready and they had a relationship that was nurturing, more than likely the one that is ready to stand up will be able to sway the other person. So the conversation about an abortion takes place in a dysfunctional sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And abortion, therefore, is a casualty of a not too good relationship.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear people talking about, we're not talking about no ideals here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, and when people say, oh, you're giving people, we're not talking about no everybody either.
Mm-hmm. Is there a round table of sorts where you present these issues to contending clergy who may be clearly thinking otherwise?
We have had several dialogues, and there are persons from the clergy who have been open to the understanding about the issue of human rights and choice. Mm-hmm. One of the challenges that we have is, I hear about the morality and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And what's very interesting is, just as though the persons who are on the other side say, we have a right to choose to say to you that you are evil and you are, when I look at social media and I listen to some of these things, the adjectives, you're a murderer, and I'm thinking, where did all this aggression come from when you don't know the person's story? Mm-hmm. But for some reason, there is this aggression, and I'm thinking, wow. From the space of clergy. A lot of evangelicals and persons who are saying, this is what God wants, they seem to find some very volatile adjectives to place in the conversation. That for me is very troubling.
Joy, you will have to return on this score, because we really would like to be getting all the parties around the table so that we may determine what really is the way to be applied to all.
I want to steal, can I steal 3 seconds?
Yes.
One of the, last year before we made our presentation to Parliament, we were in a particular session with a number of young women. We had visitors there from one of our international partners. And one of the girls says, how do I tell my child that her father is her uncle? She was raped by her uncle. She kept the pregnancy. She's been taking care of the child, and the child was now about 7 or 8, and have started asking questions about her father. And the room froze. Nobody really had a good
we freeze too. So we wanted to ask that question again, because
yes.
We'll have to consider, Lord Jesus.
How do you?
Yes, we'll have to return with this conversation again Ask that question
All right, my
again.
brothers. Thank you so much.
No, no, ask
question
the question
is-
again.
the question is-
The question
Ask the
is,
question again. Okay.
yes.
She said to us, to the audience of us, she was looking at advice actually. She was sincere. She said, how do I tell my daughter that her father is
It's
her
our
uncle?
uncle.
Because the child was now asking more questions. And the young mother has a real dilemma.
Joy, we will leave it at that for now. Don't go away.
Okay.
There's still more interesting topics to discuss in this afternoon's edition of Real Chat. Thank you, Joy. Good,
All right, my brothers. Take care.
good.
Welcome back to Real Chat. And all of a sudden, there's peace and calm.
Yes, because
With a new administration, what now is table tennis serving up for us? Andrew Liu, president of the Jamaica Table Tennis Association, will tell us. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I read in the papers someone who was a supporter for the past president, Mr. Lothian, right?
Yes.
Saying that now that the dust has settled, we're waiting on Mr. Angelo to tell us how he's going to develop the sport. Here's your platform. You may speak. You may speak to that spectator or supporter of that faction. What is it that you're going to serve up for table tennis?
Okay, awesome. I'd like to make everyone, every stakeholder in the table tennis fraternity in Jamaica, rest assured that they will be hearing from the new managing council in short order. We're in the process now we're in the handing over process. As soon as we get a handle of what is there, we just received our letter of recognition today from the GOA, Mr. Christopher Samuda, president, and we'll be notifying the international bodies of our receipt of that very important document. So it's official. It's now official, right? So what we'll be having our first executive meeting this Saturday. We'll be looking at the framework, the governance framework within which table tennis will operate for the next until the next AGM when we have a new managing council. But on that, we will have 10 committees, right? Staffed by five persons each. These committees will be what will be driving the growth of table tennis in Jamaica. We'll have the managing council separate from the finance and audit committee. Just to name a few of them: gender equity, para, players association ethics, marketing and PR, and others. I can't call all of them off the top of my head, but these are the committees that we'll be using to organize the sport.
Tell me, Andrew, was anybody worthy to be on your any of your committees, etc., who was a significant part of the Lothian administration?
Well, you will at our AGM. Whether fortunately, unfortunately, Lothian's team decided to have their own AGM, right?
When?
But they had set their own AGM for the 27th of February.
Okay,
right. But that was prior to the court date. And you guys predicted it, you know. You guys said, we're going back to court.
Yes,
I had no plans to take Mr. Lothian to court, you know. But
But what I also surmised, Andrew, was why the court didn't take that decision from the first get-go. You know?
Yes. Well, the court had ruled, you know, that we, and the instruction was that we should go back, organize ourselves and have a new AGM, but that was 2 years ago.
But that would not happen.
But that would not happen.
Right.
And that is why I had to get involved now. And so the only way that we're going to have an election is if we clean up the affiliates list. And that is a process that...
All right, but I am going to... You have served, and I now will counter, right?
Right?
Yes, you're setting up committees and so on and the governance structure. But even before this, you would be thinking, if even allowed, without having a policy document on the way forward, right? And you would have had, even if the blueprint was just in your mind, considering directions to be taken and how the sport would be developed, no?
Right.
Feel free to share some of that with us this evening.
Okay. I see where we have to forge partnerships with organizations that can help us to bring the development of grassroots table tennis to a point where we'll have players vying for places in national squad. I believe that if we forge partnerships with ISA and GISA, we'll be able to get table tennis playing extensively in schools.
That makes sense.
JTTA
that makes sense.
will not be going into the schools. What we will do, we'll go to ISA and GISA and we say, we will provide you with the coaches and the equipment and the technical expertise on how to implement table tennis programs in your school, right?
And you're willing to do this even at the primary level, or for step by step? First you're going primary, to high schools, and then
prep and primary and high schools.
Okay.
Because that is the grassroots development where table tennis takes place. I started playing table tennis when I was 8 years old, right? I won my first trophy. I came second in under 11. That was my first trophy.
Okay.
Right. So that is where the table tennis starts.
Right.
From primary and prep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any special plan for clubs?
Well, yes. So now, what will happen is when you have players being exposed in the school environment, then they will migrate to the club level. Now the clubs will be operated by the affiliates. The affiliates in each parish now will have to be, what we plan to do is to go back to where we have strong parish associations in every parish.
Okay.
Where they will look after the local clubs in each parish. So the JTTA won't be stretched to be going to every parish.
Okay.
But what we will do, we will provide through the parish association, again, technical expertise and affordable equipment, because we will seek sponsorship from the international bodies, the Olympic Committee and the ITTF and equipment manufacturers. We will bring them in and have them distributed to the affiliates at reasonable cost.
Okay.
All right.
So
all right. So
like a good start.
Yes.
Yes, and our plan now is to approach a sponsor so that we have monthly tournaments, right? And a lot of, I just spoke to someone, my good friend, Rowan Slash, who is in England now. He lamented the fact that there was so much focus on the junior players that the senior players, the more senior players, felt left out, right? And so they started to fall back, and they lost interest. So we want to develop.
You're going to correct that, huh?
Right.
Yes, we want those players to be contributing to the development of the younger players.
Okay. All right.
We have to leave it there. because of time, but it therefore gives up the opportunity to continue to speak to you. Okay?
Yes, man.
Thanks,
All
sir.
right, good. Thanks a
Thanks,
million.
thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Right. Subscribe,
Okay.
share, support the program with through the app Real Chat, $ Real Chat that's highlighted on the screen. Back in a moment. The final segment, Stratton.
The last
and here we have the last word. And the man with the last word this afternoon is Mr. Wavel Hinds, President of the West Indies
President
Players.
or CEO? What is it now?
Your president or CEO? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Sir, Myers, good evening to you. Good evening to Sir Palmer and your listeners.
Yes, we were saying you're president of the West Indies Players Association or CEO?
Both.
Yep, okay.
Both.
Okay, both president and CEO. All right. You're having the last word on a conversation that was started from the get-go on the performance of the young West Indians in Bangladesh, right? But a conversation that was centered around motivation, from the letter that Lloyd sent to what now we need to continue to do to enhance the process. Your thoughts?
First things first, thanks for having me, and let me again offer my congratulations to the management, coaching staff, and of course captain and players of the West Indies team. And a truly outstanding performance, one that will be written firmly in history and certainly will stand as part of the legacy of West Indies cricket forever.
Right.
I thought that the performance was certainly a team one, and as you said, we know of all the different challenges that the unit faced, that Cricket West Indies faced in putting the team together before they left the shores of the Caribbean. And along with them leaving the shores of the Caribbean, they were also written to by none other than the great Clive Lloyd, who have served not just as a regular player or captain, but in many other capacities in the West Indies cricket, chairman and selectors, manager, and one who would have known what it takes to perform at international level, and one who knows what it takes to have a team that is not necessarily renowned, a team that is filled with youth and inexperience, but one that will know how to galvanize support around the legacy of West Indies cricket and team unity as to bring it together. It brings about to 1975, as I would have read, I would have only been thought of by my parents. I wasn't born as yet. And we went to the went to Australia, and we were soundly beaten 5-1, but it was the beginning of a magnificent 20 years of cricket in the history in world cricket, but of course for West Indies. So I have had the experience of being around Clive Lloyd as coach and manager, and I know exactly how he thinks, and I know that he has his own method and style. But what I know is for sure is that cricket, West Indies cricket is at the center of his heart, and he lives it and breathes it every day. And I wasn't surprised at the letter, and I'm sure that the team took it on as they would. You can't fault some of the youngsters for not understanding the depth or the catalyst of such a letter. But at the same time, once they have good leadership around them to guide them, over time they will understand exactly what the letter meant, and they will understand what they what they achieved in the first test, and they will over time understand what West Indies cricket means. I made my debut in 2000 for Test cricket, and I made my ODI debut in 1999. If I told you that, or if I'm telling you now that I understood 100% what West Indies cricket meant when I first played my first game, I will lie.
Okay.
So it's a process. It's learning on the field, it's learning off the field. And the more you understand the sacrifices of Sir Larry Constantine and George Jedley and Sir Frank Quarrell and all those guys, the more you will put in the extra work when you're at training, is the more you will think about the things you say publicly and the things you will not say. The more you will try and make sure that within your own space, whether it be a cricket club or at your alma mater, that you make a contribution to continued legacy, because cricket means more to West Indies than just bat and ball, or just a frolic of putting on some stumps and playing a choreographed game or playing some T20.
Clive was saying, and you said something just now that you didn't quite understand what it meant to represent West Indies. But he's saying that perhaps there should be a booklet with an induction to young players to let them quite understand the history and the meaning and what it really stands for in a region which is so dispersed. Your thoughts on that, and the people you have spoken to earlier all figure that there's a role for the legend, and others would be much stronger to say that certainly the board doesn't know it all, so they should ask for the help.
Yes. Well, I think that's a very good way of trying to structure it. I'm trying to make it a part of our institution at Scott Cricket, whether we do it through the libraries of schools and through cricket clubs and the cricket associations and the shareholders in the Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and of course Cricket West Indies. A lot of the times we get told about West Indies cricket when we make a national team or we make the West Indies team, and there's no education before. So I am certainly one that will support an idea or a move to formalize it in a structured way, whether we put it in a booklet or we do it soft. We're in a digital age now, and try and share that around so that people can understand that cricket means more than a bat and ball. It is what we use to civilize ourselves as a people.
And bonding with the legends? Bonding with the legends?
So again?
And bonding with the legends?
But bonding with the legends is critical. Bonding with the legends is important. I told you that I had the benefit of playing under Clive Lyall as manager and coach.
Right.
I had the benefit of my first call to West Indies team. Michael Marshall was the coach.
Right.
1999 against Australia. Viv Richards took over from him. I had Jimmy Adams as my captain. I had Brian Lara as my captain. I had Courtney Walters as my first captain for Jamaica. The value of what they imparted on me is still not understood, even by me. The full value of it cannot be discussed or counted, because they are still today teaching me.
Right.
Jeffrey Dujan was my assistant coach, which we still have a very good relationship. Very knowledgeable about batting, easy on the eyes when he played, and he knows the game thoroughly. I had Graja Harper as my coach, I had Joel Garner as my manager for 18. So I'm sitting here talking to you now because they were. And they imparted that knowledge on me, and I'm sure that I can tell about many other teammates who would have played alongside me, and I would have sat in the dressing room when those persons were imparting those knowledge. Curtly Ambrose I played with. So I am all for the legends. Of course, we need to formalize it, and we need to not just do it when it's a crisis, but make it a formal structure, irrespective of the results.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Irrespective of the results on the field, it is formalized that the legends have a role to play. We formalize it. The legends feel wanted, they feel important to be given back, because I'm sure they want to empty their knowledge on the persons who are playing now.
Right.
No one needs to be sitting at home with all that knowledge, and the guys are out there struggling. And sometimes it's not a matter of talent, it's a matter of the decisions you make on the field. So,
how do we dispel the notion, Wavel, that the legends are unapproachable?
I can't. You see, that to me seems like it comes down to a case-by-case basis, person by person, because I have not met one who's unapproachable. When I was in my developmental stages, I played club cricket in Barbados for Carlton Cricket Club. I was invited by Shirley Clark because he was my captain for the West Indies under 19, and I lived at his house, and I played for Carlton Cricket Club. And Desmond Haynes is the legend of Carlton.
Right.
And I spoke to Desmond Haynes many times when I was there living in Barbados and playing club cricket. So that is not my experience. So, and I'm not saying that is not somebody else's experience. I'm just
Right.
saying, on a case-by-case basis, if we formalize it, then we can take the personalities out of it and understand that the common goal is to understand the game, understand the history, understand the legacy, and understand that while they played, things were a particular way, and while we are playing now, while the youngsters are playing now, it is what it is today, but the fundamentals of the game don't change, the thought process doesn't change. Preparing for a game, running to 5 miles as a fast bowler, whether you're playing in today's era or 30 years ago, is the same principle.
Right.
So those are the things we need to understand and take the personality out of it and make sure that West Indies cricket or Barbados or Guyana's cricket or Leewards or whichever it may be stands above all of us, and we are just you are just playing our role, and we hand over the baton. And we hand over the baton on the field, we hand over the baton off the field in terms of transferring of knowledge, sharing of knowledge, and just be supporters. If you're going to hold the office of public, if you're going to hold public office, and especially in leadership, people are going to have things to say about you, whether they're good or bad. You have to also accept that once you accept the position, that it will come with the rough and the smooth, and you'll be praised when you're doing well, as Kyle Mayers was and Craig Bathwaite. And if you don't do so well, people will always be critical of it. So
but I
it's a
take
part
it,
and parcel of the game.
I take it, and final question from us, I take it that feeling so strongly about it, there's commitment on your part that this is something that will be pursued.
Yes, I've thought it through, and I've begun the conversation with some of the legends that I'm closer to, that I have a good relationship from my playing days, and we'll see how far it is. We were speaking to the director of cricket,
Right.
which is my former captain, Jimmy Adams, which we speak almost every day about cricket, and I'll speak to the CEO, Mr. Johnny Grave, and see how best we can collaborate to try and
Excellent.
get
Wonderful.
all the
Excellent.
negatives about that out the media and try and get it in a positive way, where we don't necessarily have to invite each other to our birthday parties or Christmas dinner, but when we say cricket, everybody is ready to speak to each other.
Quite.
Wavel Hinds.
The Wavel Hinds. A fine note to end this afternoon's edition of Real Chat. Thank you so much, Wavel.
Thanks again for having me, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Good.
And that's a program for another week, right?
Yes. And it started on a high note. It's ending on a high note.
And we didn't abort the program.
And we didn't abort the program. We'll be back. Come next week with more on Real Chat. As we say, sports chat.
Real chat.
Any chat, we're going to chat. Next week.